Hello and welcome to The Point of Everything. Today on the show are Stevie and Jake Lennox, one half of the Belfast-based band Junk Drawer, who released their second album, Days of Heaven, via Pizza Pizza Records on June 6th. Completed by Brian Coney and Rory D, Junk Drawer have been going for 10 years, having got together from the remnants of other bands in 2015. And after a couple of singles and EPs over the years, they released their debut album, Ready for the House, in April 2020. Not ideal timing, but it doesn't diminish just how good a first record it is. A heady mix of Weezer, shoegaze and early 90s vibes that's become their calling card. They've added elements of Graham Parsons, Grateful Dead and The Byrds for the follow-up album, which they say is their attempt to make a work of weird cosmic Ulster music. I talked to Stevie and Jake less than a week after they had wrapped up an 8-day tour of Ireland with the Montreal band Cola and Irish post-punk band Mail. I got to see them all in Whelan's in Dublin on the final night of the tour last week, and I just thought Junk Drawer were so great. One of the best guitar bands in the country. So coming up, Stevie and Jake are going to talk about the logistics of putting that tour together and why more Irish bands in particular should consider doing something similar, playing all around the country together with other acts. We talk about how Junk Drawer started, the Belfast music scene, playing South by Southwest, making Days of Heaven with Chris Ryan from Robo Cobra Quartet. We talk about lyrics and intent, and we discuss lots more besides over the following 50-minute chat. You can get Days of Heaven at junkdrawerbelfast.bandcamp.com. Here are Stevie and Jake from Junk Drawer on The Point of Everything. So I'm talking with you guys not a week after your tour with Mail and Cola finished up. I think it's about 6 days since the Dublin show in Whelan's. How has the recovery been going? Was it a lot of effort going anti-clockwise around the island, as Coney described it during Mail's set last week? Stevie, I'll start with you. Tell me about the tour with Mail and Cola.
It was great. Yeah, I've been recovering from it, but I feel full up. It's like, I think Connie said it, but it was something I'd said exactly earlier that day as well. It's really, really nice, like almost being a tourist in your own island. Because there were places I've never been to, the Burren, I've never been to Waterford, and hadn't spent like a proper bit of time in Galway. And even just, I'm from County Derry, but I'd never done the Free Derry Museum, and being able to kind of take it all in with people who are taking it in for the first time. You're sort of conflating what you know about the island and all your preconceptions and all the things that you've assumed over the years, and kind of challenging them. And it's, yeah, we actually all said it, I think, when we were coming out of Waterford. It's like, I think we all feel a bit more Irish now, after, yeah, just feel a lot more connected to the land, having, yeah, traversed it in a big oval, you know.
How about you, Jake? Tell me about like the logistics of planning this tour. I mean, how did it start? What was the plan?
I all the planning was kind of down to Stevie, to be honest. I do the driving and play live. So I think it was like better managed than a lot of tours have been in terms of like travel. The longest drive was about 4 hours to Galway. The only problem was that I didn't want to take time off work, so we were in Derry the night before, got home at 2 a.m. and was up because then I had to do an early shift and drive to Galway on like 3 hours sleep. So that was absolutely awful, but like it was everything was great after that. As soon as I kind of acclimatized, yeah, it's fun just seeing all the cities we'd never been to before. As Stevie says, feeling more Irish. I think after every tour we've done, I felt a little bit more Irish. And like we got, yeah, having Waterford on the map this time meant that there was like the magic road down there that I really, really wanted to see. Um, so we got to experience that, and like Ireland's oldest city, it's cool as hell. It's got its own total vibe.
Taking time off work is kind of like one of those unmentioned things, isn't it, when it comes to touring? It's like
Yeah.
if you are planning on like a year of like pushing the record and everything, you are going to have to contend with like, when are my holidays going to be? Because if I take time off work, I am working and I am traveling and I'm doing stuff with the band. So like that is something that bands have to take into consideration for tours, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem to be something that Mail take into consideration because Connie was working the whole time. Um, so fair play to her. I didn't have that. I took 3 days off, which even yeah, it is just one of those things you try to be as strategic as you can, bundle gigs up as much as you can. But I'm a software developer day to day, and it can be pretty exhausting whenever it is still work whenever you're touring and you don't fully get time to unwind. So you have to balance minimize your burnout as much as you can there as well. Find times to do the things that help. Find things that ease your mind and help you have as good a time as you can while also having a good tour and staying sane.
So you guys started in Belfast, you did Derry, Galway, Limerick, 2 nights in Cork, Waterford and Dublin as well. Stevie, tell me like where the idea for the tour came from. And was it always the three acts together?
Yeah, so I think Connie from Mail had talked about. So I think they had like a 2 week Irish tour booked with Cola, because they're like they're just good pals and not label mates, but shared booking agent, I think. And so they had a couple of things booked, and I think they'd applied for their visas like 6 months in advance. And sure enough, like a week before the tour, visas still hadn't come in, and they basically had to cancel the entire tour. So I think in a way to deal with it, they were like, well, why don't we do an Irish tour? Ben from Cola, the bassist, super into his Irish history. He's like, I think he recently discovered his granddad was born in Dublin. And it's like, he is a better Irish citizen than I am, to be honest. Like, he was sitting in our house chatting Irish to my partner who had like, 14 years of it in the education system and far less than him. Connie was like, oh, why don't we invite Junk Drawer along? And I was, obviously, I'm super over the moon about it. And all the lads were well up for it too. We're all big fans of both bands anyway, and friends of Mail too. And yeah, it just seemed like a logical grouping too. It's like all kind of DIY centric bands. No one sounds too much like each other, but we all hopefully complement each other. And we just were like, yep, divide it 3 ways, share the back line, just do it as in the traditions of our forefathers as we could. And yeah, there were a few awkward things with like trying to make sure to get a van sorted and all and work and things falling through, but like yeah, it all went off without a hitch. I really couldn't believe it.
Is it kind of like almost like a cooperative sort of a thing? Like you're sharing the cost between three acts rather than just one. Is this something that like more Irish bands anyway should think about doing? Do you think like getting in a couple of acts together?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably the most camaraderie I've ever felt in that kind of thing because we were also alternating the lineups, which to us is um like Cole are a band that I've looked up to, and their old band, Odd, the band I've idolized since I was like 20 years old or something. So pivotal for me, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll open up tonight. You guys headline, and like it's a crazy thought, but yeah, to lighten the load in that way, sharing, splitting the fees, kind of considering the transport and all that stuff. Even getting like a tour. We've never had a tour t-shirt before, so Ben from Cola designed that, and and then we're like splitting fees off that, and it does really feel like the essence of DIY.
Definitely. I think you feel more respect and more respected whenever you're in that way as well. It's like, I think it's such a nice thing to be regarded as peers rather than like a support band. And everyone was, a peer and a co-head. Like we were treating each other as co-headliners. And there's something just so reassuring about it all. Like from the moment you get in, everyone's kind of, whoever's there early is setting up the drum kit, setting up the amps. Where I like, oh, where do you like your amps? Where do you like these things? Because we can move around. Just everyone's being super flexible about their preferences on stage, and it's just yeah. I mean, if anyone felt really strong about headlining one night, they got to do that, and everyone felt like, I'm not sure if we should do. You should do it in our city because we know a bunch of people will come down early anyway. That kind of thing, and it's just yeah. It's just like it's nice having something to fall back on that way too.
Do you have like a standout gig of the eight? Did you feel like, ooh, that was a good one? Was it the last one in Whelan's? I got to see you guys. I thought you were so good, so tight.
We were
opening
the
up.
tightest. We were definitely at our
Hmm.
peak there in terms of tightness, but I think on the other two that aren't here would probably agree that Cork night one was when we were like at that. We've kind of we've tightened up all the screws, but we're also loose enough.
Hmm.
I don't know. I think we'd all had maybe a couple of drinks, and it was just kind of all like it just felt like the most free that it was going to get. But this tour, we really had time to like open up this one expansive passage in the song that we end in, which is off our first album, "What I've Learned, What I'm Learning." Um, and so we've basically just extended that out and really let it breathe in its own way, and it's improvised like every night between dueling guitars between Stevie and Brian, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to play.
Lots of fun. Yeah, I remember like on that one in particular, I just sort of thought maybe I should just let Brian talk to me in this one, musically, like on stage, and it was just like we were sitting back and it sort of you sort of if you have that we not out of body experience, not gonna get all heady on it, but it's like it was as close as it came to like proper flow because there's always an element of like self awareness of yourself on stage. That's maybe why you wear certain things on stage or people put on sunglasses to try and like not feel as in your body and just let the whole thing flow through you. But that was definitely the night where it felt like it fell through us a bit more. Whelan's was probably my favorite in terms of pure tightness, and Derry was a really fun one as well. I think because we all expected it to be, look, it's Derry, it's a night's crack, it's Ben's birthday, we've had a nice day in the city, but no one turns out to gigs in Derry that often, and people turned out, and it was like I think everyone was like Cork and Derry, and then Whelan's as far as an actual professional setup for a show, you know.
So I mean, you mentioned getting to see the burn and stuff. What would be like Junk Drawer's five tourist attractions of Ireland after the tour?
Oh, oh,
Definitely the burn.
yeah, yeah. If you like, it really depends. There's some places that just geographically work really, really well. It's halfway between, you know, Galway
Galway
and
and
Cork or
Limerick.
something. But
Yeah,
if there's things in general that you really want to see, like Newgrange is right up there.
we
The
got to do
Burn,
that.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Burn's
we
the
did
most
that like
incredible place.
yeah. Remember we took a trip to Newgrange like the day after. It was like one of the two kind of solstice days. And yeah, they took us in on the way down to a gig with Silverbacks. That was pretty memorable for sure.
Pretty special. There's definitely a few others.
The
Um,
Magic Road's pretty epic. Like the Magic Road's a lot of fun.
What's the Magic Roads?
There's
it's
probably a few of
down.
them.
Yeah, there are a couple. I think there's one in Donegal as well. But in County Waterford, there's one, and I can't remember the exact time. But if you a quick Google Waterford Magic Road will
Mm.
find it. It's the one where it's like deceptively, if you, it looks like it's uphill. So if you take the handbrake off and you stop the car, it feels like you're going uphill naturally. Um, but
It's a
yeah, it's
trick of the
actually
eye.
it's a trick of the eye. But
A trick of the
it's a
eye.
fucking it's a sorry, I was about to swear. It's an amazing big fern field as well. And it's by
Mm.
the no, it's by the waterfall that I can't remember the
Mahon.
Mahon
Yeah,
waterfall.
Mahon Waterfall.
And yeah, it's just great for a view or a hike anyway. But that would be my recommendation.
It's kind of marked by a stone says the Magic Road and then a fairy tree, and it literally as soon as you cross where the pass where the fairy tree is, it starts drifting. It's a mad thing.
The other classic is the Obama Plaza. I'm sure like every
Yeah, the
touring
lads found
band
out
has
about that.
been to the Obama
Yeah.
Plaza.
Every
Yeah.
time I go there, I'm like, this is so strange. It's just like such
Mm.
an odd thing that exists in Ireland, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool to have. Like, is there a Supermax in that one as well? It's like it's really
So yeah,
got like
yeah.
There's always a
all the
Supermax.
staples, but like this weirdness about it.
You guys mentioned DIY and how the tour felt DIY. Connie, during mail set, shouted out Luca's records and decks in Waterford. You don't hear many bands playing Waterford. I don't, anyway. But that place seems like a really cool
Hmm.
spot in keeping with that DIY ethos. Is it? Tell me about like Waterford, and should bands be including it on their itinerary in Ireland?
Totally. Like, yeah, we get there because I've only seen our friends Problem Patterns played there quite recently, and we had never heard Waterford be like on the tour and agenda at all. And I think it's like it's a super DIY setup. So if you're not comfortable, just vocals through a PA, rock gig in the back of a room of a record shop with like questionable electronics, don't like, I wouldn't chance it if you need to be a super pristine pop thing, but like go there and you will be rewarded tenfold because the people there were super nice. The lads that work there, was it Harry and Ryan? Really knowledgeable, not jaded record shop guys. Like they're 3 years in, and they're it's like they're serving us coffee. They've got a load of like skate decks and stuff, and the guy was like super excited that you should take me upstairs and show them the like 4,000 jazz records they had, and it's just like it's just pure excitement. I think probably the fact that Waterford's finally getting a bit as well. Like I've seen Drogheda as well. Like has a really cool little scene. Like they get a record shop recently, and a few heads are working there. We had a show there last year, and I know a bunch of like weird noise bands are now playing there. Like that would previously maybe be like Limerick, Cork, Belfast, Dublin. They'll do Drogheda instead of Belfast or something now because there's such a scene and a hunger for it, which is just class.
Yeah, that's great because you always hear about like how great Irish music is at the moment, how great it's doing, and yet you see the tours and it's like the same couple of places. So it's great to hear that like Drogheda's coming up, Waterford's coming up. Who knows? Sligo is also doing really well
Yeah,
as well. Like that's a sign of a healthy scene, isn't it? That
Totally.
there are new places to play.
I feel like this thing we definitely noticed we started playing more smaller towns after the pandemic. I think people possibly were like, maybe I've had enough of the big city. Maybe I can work in this. Yeah, maybe I could like just try and make my own community somewhere smaller. And I definitely think because in the old days there used to be like we grew up around the set like the Cellar in Draperstown. Loads of bands came there. But that's not really a thing. Hasn't been a thing for a long time in like a lot of small towns. So I feel like it's maybe going back to that a little bit because everything's maybe so Dublin centric or so large city centric.
Okay, so that's the tour. Anything else you want to say about it? Any good tour stories? Nobody like missed their bus or anything like that? You don't want to shame anybody?
there were a couple, not none that roll off the tongue here, really.
No?
Not at all.
Ah, all seem okay, okay,
No.
very
No, do you know what? We were
professional.
very sensible. No, we
Very
were.
professional,
The
yeah.
Magic Road almost caused a wee accident, but it was because we all got caught up in the excitement of it.
Gotta check this out.
Oh yeah, it's
Okay.
on YouTube or it's on Instagram. You'll see it.
Okay, we'll move on then. I think 2025 marks 10 years of Junk Drawer. You released your debut EP called their Self-Loathing debut mostly on July 9th, 2015. Is that something that you had in your heads that it's 10 years of Junk Drawer this year?
Yeah, it's been on the calendar that our first gig was in October, but I didn't. I sort of forgot that we even put out that EP before then.
It's still up online. The internet doesn't forget.
No, I know, and we're not one of those bands who are going to delete our early stuff. I'm not about that. You see it all the time. I'm like, no, we exist. We were trying to be built to spill for a while there.
What was the idea at the start? How did Junk Drawer start out? Because I've talked to you, Stevie, a couple of times on the podcast, but around Litany of Failures compilations that have been put out over the years. We haven't actually done a Junk Drawer episode, so like, tell me about how the band started, why the band started.
Guess me and Brian just like thought it was inevitable that we would form a band. It was just when you're just into the same sort of stuff, and it's like I was kind of doing some noise rock post hardcore stuff with the lads who are now in Mobwife. Um, and then so we just had a few. I still have the jams on like a hard drive here somewhere. I think a hard drive is sitting in front of me actually, of like early wee demos of just plugging into the room and just doing wee sort of weird bendy, slinty indie rock riffs. And then at that point we had a practice space, and it was like natural to give Jake a shout. We actually the first bassist that we were jamming with is a guy Luke Bowen, who's the younger brother of what do you call the guy from Idols? The guy
The
from
other
here
Bowen.
from Idols. Yeah, the other Bowen. The lesser Bowen. Only mess. Yeah. And then he moved away to be a dentist in Scotland. So we kind of, yeah, I guess we found Rory D at some point. I think at a festival we played like a three-piece thing, like a little three-piece set that no one really knows about. And then at a festival, Rory joined, and that kind of solidified the lineup. And yeah, Jake, what's your memories of that time?
Yeah, pretty much that. Our actual first gig was at our friend's. It was in Mahara in County Derry. His parents were away for like the weekend, so we converted his barn into to make a gig. And Winona Bleach, it was R51 at the time, headlined it. We did a Dark Side of the Moon tribute set with a couple of
Yeah, we did.
friends.
Yeah.
And yeah, the first Junk Drawer set in which Johnny Woods from Winona Bleach came on and played bass on like a tune as well. But then yeah, our first official gig with Rory would have been October. And we didn't know how we were going to do it live because we recorded the EP as a with like just three of us with plan for that stuff later. But so yeah,
Mhm.
10 years is kind of crazy. It doesn't feel like it, and most bands don't make it that far. So I do see it as an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a memory of that first gig where Chris, who has produced our last three things, company's like, you know what? I didn't like a lot of you guys set, but that last song slapped. The last song was "Do You Ever Think About Existence, Adrian?" It's probably the first song we wrote that we were like, "Oh, that's a song." I would say, but yeah, he was right. He was right.
I feel like the blueprint for Junk Drawer was kind of there from the start. It's kind of a mix of Weezer. I don't know if you guys talked about them at the start. Kind of some shoegaze stuff, some early '90s vibes as well. I feel like that was there from the start. Do you talk about what you want to do together, or is it just like this is what we're into? Let's see what comes out.
I think we all know. I guess we talk about music all the time. I guess when we're not just slabbering at each other, we're talking about music. So and it always feels like we're going through certain things at the same time. Like going to see certain bands together have shaped. Even like listening back to the early aught stuff, I'm like I can definitely hear how post punk started to become more of a thing, at least for how I would write. Like going back to um like Beautiful Blue Sky by Aught and things like that. Those are big songs for me now that I look back and I can see it sort of see the past a bit more clearly laid out. But definitely like Pavement were such a huge thing. Like Weezer were a big formative band, which kind of evolves into Pavement naturally, I think.
What's the Belfast scene like then compared to now, like musically? How do you guys fit into it and everything?
It's so much better now.
Stevie would have come out of the kind of post-hardcore thing that was happening a lot in Belfast. I was a bit younger, so I wasn't really playing in bands really then. Um, so I think we kind of thought whenever we started as a band, it was thinking more globally and not in terms of we're going to be Mr. Worldwide, but like just like there were a lot of bands that are very pigeonholed into a local sound then, and I think that's less
Mm,
the case now. I think
definitely.
I think bands are able, and through production, easier production and everything, they're able to do what they want more now without going to this one engineer that can only make this one indie sound, which would
I
have been the case.
I can definitely see, and it kind of ties into that thing that you were just asking as well, where like we started as one thing, and I think like I remember us. Well, not that we broke up, but we definitely like stopped gigging for a while. The scene was a bit of a nadir, so there was no one to really play with in a way, and not a lot of people are going to gigs as much. And it was just like hang up from the economic downturn, like is probably a large part of it. But um, I remember us definitely like clicking, like going to Primavera, going to see bands like the OCs, things like that, and really kicking into gear on more of the psych thing. It just was something we all started to gravitate towards more in a big way. And then I think we played a gig down in Cork where it was like the first sort of show we played that far away to people we didn't know at all. Yeah, we just got a really good reception, but also it felt like we were being encouraged to do the thing that it was just like to indulge ourselves in that way and not to like sound a certain way or in a scene. And I think the Irish music scene is really good for that now. Like you look at the Limerick scene and like no one really sounds the same. They've all got their own thing going, but they're all super close knit. Cork's the same, like embrace the weirdness. Dublin has like now got such a mishmash of stuff. Like you look at Anshaw and places like that where you've got like like search results have kind of come out of that scene, I guess. Like they're totally doing their own thing and no one really sounds like that. They're just this fucking magic trio. There's loads of other bands in that world. And I think it's like sort of probably spiraled off topic, but yeah, I think the scene feels more like a cohesive unit of bands who are just happy that they're all doing their own thing now. Where it's like we play with Problem Patterns a load, and like there is no like sonic common ground there, but like ideologically and in terms of how we conduct our business as bands, I would say we're like brothers and sisters.
That's great. You guys released your debut album, Ready for the House, in April 2020. You just hear that date and you know what's coming. I can imagine you've got mixed emotions looking back on that album, do you, Jake? I mean, it still sounds great. Like, Year of the Sofa is just an incredible song on that album. How do you guys look back on that album?
I'm happy with it. Yeah, I think it's cool. It feels different, but it's something that we did that we were all very
Mm.
proud of, for what it was. And it was good and bad at like the time that it came out because I think people were home to listen to it more and actually indulge it.
Mm.
Unfortunately, we just weren't able to like properly launch it or tour it. But I mean, I don't really care. I have no ambition of being like of being a professional musician or making lots of money from it. I think like some people heard it and it had an effect on them, and that's all that matters to me. And I had
Yeah,
fun making it, so that matters more to
yeah.
me. I enjoyed making it.
Is that something that you've kind of got to come to terms with? You know, like, I'm not going to make my living as a musician. I know that we've talked about DIY and everything. I mean, do you kind of treat it as a hobby? Or do you, like, it's more than that, though, isn't it?
It's like this family crossed with hobby, crossed with work. There's like an element of work that is needed to get to it, but also it's such a social thing and it's such a fun, worthwhile, creative thing. Yeah, it fits into a box that other things in my life can't really, doesn't it? It's like I don't think I was chatting to the Cola guys because not all of them do it as a job. Some work in record shops or whatever else, and it's like even at that level, you're internationally touring. The music industry is still a kind of broken thing in some ways, but yeah, it's just really liberating to like find kindred spirits, and you go to a certain city and there's going to be a bed for you. You'll have some friends to meet up with, and show you around the place, and that in itself is such a large reward, for us, to be honest. And the fact it just pays for itself is great. Yeah, even like looking back in that first album, it's like we are totally. I mean, there's probably a lot of similarities. It's hard whenever you're in the middle of it. I see like a definitely a less happy version of myself, and I think we talked about it whenever it came out, probably mid pandemic. But it's definitely like this one feels a lot happier for me, anyway.
Did you guys do South by Southwest last year? Were you guys over there?
2023.
Oh wow,
2023.
23. Yeah. How was that? Oh yeah, last year was the whole controversy, wasn't it, about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
arms stuff. So you did it kind of before then. I mean, it seems like South by Southwest has changed so much from its heyday back in like 2010, 2011. What do you guys think now, like almost over 2 years on from it? How was your time over there?
We had an excellent time. Yeah, like it pretty much just afforded us the ability to go over without having to pay for visas and have a few new people see us live, get to see us perform. We made some friends in like, because there's obviously like a history of psych rock in Austin. 13th Floor Elevators are from there. Daniel Johnson's from there as well. And there's just been a great scene. So we're able to make a lot of friends more than anything. I see it as a way that I had a great time for a week and got, some new people saw us. That's pretty much it. I can't do the schmoozing thing, so I just avoided that pretty much. So for what some people are looking for, I think it can be really useful. But I mean, we didn't really get any business out of it.
I kind of think that the Superchunk tour is probably an indirect effect of that.
Mm,
Because they were actually meeting up with Mail to sign Mail at the time, Merge were. So I probably reckon that those links wouldn't have crossed. I don't know. I haven't asked too much. I'm like, I don't try not to ask him any questions. It's just like, just try and live your live your truth and play music. But I kind of suspect that is a thing that came from. But yeah, same as what Jake said. We just had a really fun time hanging out, playing a bunch of shows to people, meeting some really interesting folks. Like Jake and Coney met up with some dude who was like Willie Nelson's PA. Got to see a load of bands. Like saw Dennis Quaid sing on stage with Robbie Krieger from The Doors doing Riders on the Storm. Like you're never gonna see that anywhere else ever. Um, but yeah, it was just I think it has definitely turned into like a big tech bro thing though. Like it's people going on, but it's just a way to sell really expensive wristbands to tech bros, with some music as an like with this cool artsy past. It's kind of like what certain festivals turn into. Look how cool we once were, and now we're just this like tenant sponsored nightmare. Um, but I think as long you're there with a bunch of musicians, you can all have loads of fun. Like we played the Irish stage with somebody's child who have Shay from like me and Jake's first band. We all went to school together, and it was this mad thing of like Silverbacks, our new music friends are here, and the guy who we played with, who's like touring Europe, doing stadiums and stuff, that was in our first wee band playing, Pearl Jam covers, is on right before. It's like, it is this mad thing that it can even happen at all.
So that's over 2 years ago. When do you guys start thinking about the second album, what became Days of Heaven? When did that kind of start out, that whole process? Did you just have like constant new songs from during the pandemic, I'm guessing?
No, sort of as soon as we got back from South to Southwest that year, we all had an invigorated inspiration to kind of start writing again. And it's tough to
Just
start
because
any.
of South by Southwest and kind of that whole
Yeah,
experience, yeah.
the amount like seeing the bands over there, we actually felt like a band again. Kind of,
Mm,
I don't know, it invigorated me enough to want to start doing it. And I was like, I'd heard a lot of bands that I was now influenced by. We were able to channel so much energy whenever we started writing automatically there, basically.
hmm
And that was kind of it. But it had been stagnant for a while. We probably had like a year without really writing much after we put out the first album.
Yeah, because it was like in the middle of the pandemic too. We had like this weird thing we were changing how we write as well. Like Suspended Anvil was like a living room songs. We couldn't get up to the space, so like two or three of us riffing keyboards. You're starting to build songs in a different way, and I guess that's probably just a very practical way to deal with not being able to be a loud band doing like 90 indie rock songs. And I think that carried with us as well. How did it happen? Yeah, we had like definitely a few. I feel like the that EP that we put out just before, like in 2022, is probably the sort of little transition note from previous Junk Drawer into current Junk Drawer. But right enough, like looking back at the sort of when the demos came, it is that like 6 month period after South by. We'd knock on effect of getting a couple of NI Music Prize things, playing that, and then you're sort of like a bit galvanized, sort of think, oh, let's go, lads, let's get into the space every week.
So it's good to go in with that kind of positive energy rather than like, oh, I suppose we have to make another album. You're not like grinding it out sort of a thing, are you?
No, I think it'd be a lot harder to get motivated if we did have that. And it's easy for us to say, not being massively successful out of it. I think there would be a lot more pressure if you felt like you had to write those songs. But I like it having it this way where we're always kind of free and we can explore whatever we want as well, and we have the time to do that. So I was like
Hmm
5 years between two albums, even though there's an EP in between. It means we're not rushing anything, and it's produced our best work. Like I think this is better than what we've done before.
for sure. I
Really
like
happy with it.
I've kind of got a rule where it's like if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. Musically, like if I don't want to pick up the guitar, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to like turn it into this torturous relationship with this like wrangle a song I don't want to write out of a tool. And I don't want to, if I'm not up for practice or if I don't feel like I'm up for it, I don't want to force them to be in a room with me, and I don't want them to have to be in a room with us if they're just not in the mood for it. It's not, it should be the band like band time should be a really special time as well. Like, and I feel like all the formative things that have made us a better band have been things we've done together. Like even just taking trips, like we're going to Rotterdam to do Left of the Dial, and it was like, I think it was you, Jake, was like, we haven't actually had like a wee band trip in a while. Should we like just tack an extra day or two on to have a nice time and see a bit of the city? And it was like, yeah, we definitely. So we will do that.
I love this kind of tour. You need like a side project of some sort of tourism website or something like that where you're recommending things
Yeah,
as
I
well.
that's what sustains it. I think if we weren't actually doing stuff like that, it would be a lot harder to be able to do it because then you are just in business mode all the time.
hmm
But we were friends first and foremost, so from even before the band started, and pretty much whenever the band started, the amount of festivals that I've been to with all like Stevie, Rory, and Coney, and so we're growing together, and we're taking the same inspiration points in the movies that we see, and the festivals that we go to, and the experiences that we have. I think that all kind of pushes us along the same trajectory. So yeah, any other bands I recommend, you got to make time for that fun stuff.
Yeah,
That's what it's all about.
The
definitely.
press release for the new album Days of Heaven says it's Junk Drawer's attempt to make a work of weird cosmic Ulster music, taking inspiration from the way Graham Parsons, The Byrds, Grateful Dead and the likes created a language and a pathway for cosmic American music by drinking in what came before and spitting it out via the inherited angst of growing up in a post-war world. I mean, big loads of stuff that we could talk about there. Tell me about the idea of making weird cosmic Ulster music. Was that one of the things you talked about at the start, or is it just afterwards you're like, oh, we made a weird cosmic Ulster album, Stevie?
Yeah, I definitely think that was something that we realized once it was done, or maybe a lot in the process of doing. It was like, I kind of follows up on that thing I was saying about the indulging yourself to do the weird, like indulge in the weirdness, indulge in the weirdness that's inherent in whatever you're doing, or that's true to yourself. In terms of like the cosmic American music thing, that was kind of, I hadn't even heard of the term. I think it was Jake probably came to me with it because Jake's a big Graham Parsons fan. So you want to explain what you understand by it?
That was basically he was from like the southeast in America. And so growing up with so much like so many blues players and country players and kind of all took this to be the same thing. Like they're all using the same three chords kind of thing. And was able to kind of trace the progression of those genres, and then but also seeing this kind of hippie movement, which was very different than the kind of southern way that he'd been raised in, but he also loved that kind of futuristic psychedelic music. And what he aimed to do was make cosmic American music, which is it's not like psychedelic. I mean, it is for all intents and purposes, it's psychedelic country, but it's in the same way of like that the initial punk rock kind of ethos where it's kind of it's kind of futurism in what it's doing. It's like it's just
Mm.
progressive taking the history and moving it forward. So that kind of just became a bit of a joke, like the cosmic Ulster, because Ulster is also a very loaded term, and we're kind of playing with that idea that there's so many connotations. But we love Ulster so much; it is our home, and we're very proud to be there. But being a proud Ulster man, it's something you can't say that in a lot of rooms, so you got to be careful.
That's it. It's been
So
co-opted
that's
by.
kind of where we're looking.
It's been co-opted by the wrong people. I feel like Donegal people and Monaghan people especially like have that thing in them. It's just this. I don't know what it is. It's like an earthy spaciness or something. Like I definitely see it in the literature, like the books I've taken in from Monaghan writers and the music I've listened to from like Donegal artists and even the art they create and things like that. There's a kindredness to the whole province. I mean, every province has its thing, even Leinster. Um, only messing, but yeah, I think it is just this thing of like I think as I get older, I'm less concerned about myself and a bit more concerned about like outward matters. And I think, just being aware of how many tiny things, just how much the past has influenced us really in the way why you say certain things and why you choose certain words and stuff. And it was something we were chatting to Cola a lot about when we were hanging out, like going to the Free Dairy Museum and how much, like, I know it's like a Dairy Girls thing, but even wee things like how you say H or H, uh, can tell you everything about a person up here. You know what I mean? It's like a so yeah. I guess it was a bit for me. A lot of it was like exploring that idea and a lot of the promises that were made, a lot of the things that have happened in the past. Sorry, it's very vague. It's such a complex thing, and many books have been written about it. I guess, and hopefully this is another retext about it.
I mean, I wouldn't think about you guys as kind of a political band. I don't think that you would either, would you? But like, I mean, is that something that's kind of coming up in the lyrics? And maybe if you want to talk about how you guys write lyrically. I don't know. I think you share vocals. I don't know if you share the lyric writing as well.
I think we're just political people. Like, I wasn't intending to write songs about here until I realized that, like, Pell Mell was about. I was like writing a song about my love of old objects and how planned obsolescence had kind of came and steamrolled a lot of um, just, I guess, how everything has become a bit more temporary in a lot of ways. So I think it was that, and then it sort of reminded me. Then that gets you thinking about uh, capitalism and the cogs.
I think
It's
everything's political. Like
yeah, I
you
think
can't really make any kind of art that's not political. And we're not saying anything about how we feel, should there be a United Ireland or anything like that. It's more just observe, and also none of my lyrics are about that. This is a Stevie thing, much more so. But when I say we to refer to the band, is that it's more just about observations about how we grew up, and that's pretty much it
mhm,
about certain things that are noticed and a unique identity that exists in Ulster. But
yeah.
it's not, but I mean, it's as political as anything else, really.
That's it. The personal is political, and I mean, like, we go to rallies and make choices about what we buy and things like that, depending on things. And I guess it's like I think the act of being a DIY band and doing the things you do and having those flags on stage, you don't have to be yelling at the top of your voice a slogan to, I think, carry out a political act. Um, but I hope that all those things sign point towards a certain way of living. You know what I mean?
And then lyrically, I mean, Jake, you kind of mentioned it there. You kind of write lyrics and bring them to the band. Stevie writes lyrics and bring them to the band. It's not like you're in the room together, kind of writing together. It's kind of like this is my song, this is his song, is it?
We did a little bit of, yeah, well, generally, like if whoever's come up with the idea or has the most kind of writing on it will write the lyrics. You'll be singing the melody and then you'll write the lyrics. And yeah, I would never want to change any of his really. We kind of allow each other to do whatever we want. We had a bit of collaboration because we split vocal duties on we did it in Jamie. We
Jamie,
we
yeah, yeah,
alternate lines.
yeah, and same
That's
thing
great at
happened.
trying to compliment each other.
Yeah, and like in Suspended Anvil in the previous EP as well, I guess we kind of tried it out with like Jake sings verse, I sing chorus. And it's like, yeah, it's a really nice thing. I think this one for me, Jake will come in with a set of lyrics that's pretty solidified, and you maybe ask for feedback on a few lines. I'm really, really indecisive and have complete choice paralysis, so I'll end up with a couple of sheets and just go out in the morning, have my cup of coffee in the studio, and like try and pare them down. And I think all like 9 times out of 10, the lads would be like they land out, and I'm like, here, this line or these pairs, and they would always confirm what I suspected anyway. It was always like, oh, that's exactly what I was expecting. So it was nice that way. I think it's just a bit of reassurance because I don't see myself as a lyric writer at all. It's definitely my least favorite part of the process because it's the thing that takes it's the least fun, that takes the most out of you, but it's rewarding in the end, especially if someone actually relates to something.
I won't keep you guys too much longer, but we might just talk through a couple of the tracks on the album. The second song is called Brown Sunshine. Love this one. Got some great whistling on it, but what is Brown Sunshine? I'm kind of scared to ask. I don't know what. I haven't heard it before. Is it a term?
It's just what the song felt like. Isn't that what like? It's just what the song felt like. I get this thing about like brown music where it's just, sort of
I've
I don't
heard of
know.
brown noise. I haven't heard of brown music
It's
before.
it's a very slang term that like me and a few mates sort of
Okay.
agree on. It's like, kind of weird, wonky music that sounds a little bit off. It's right in the wrong way, as like Ween said, um, or wrong but in a good way. It's just like notes that shouldn't work together. Whistling where it's unconventional. Um, but yeah, that it's just like it felt like a sunny song, but like a little bit off, not pure summer. Um, Brown Sunshine is what it felt like, off
Nids
colored. You know.
Nids Nidica came out on the Litany of Failures, Volume 4 last year. It kind of feels like an old favorite. It just sounds so good, so immediate. Love the drumming as well. How does it feel to you guys? Does it kind of feel like, oh, this just always hits good. I mean, I think that you guys enjoyed playing it last week in Dublin.
Definitely enjoy it. It probably feels like the most separate for me because we did record it a while ago. But I heard it again. We put out we put out that song "Lock Goal Circus" there a couple of weeks ago, and I put it on just to kind of refresh myself. I think Ned's was the B side on that, or it was put second, I think, and it came on, and it was the first time I've like heard it in a long time. I was like, oh, that's a really good song. Like like I was able to hear the rhythms and stuff rather than just it being another thing that passes you by. So
Yeah,
yeah, I guess it is an old favorite. It works live because we can go pretty. It's probably one of our fastest. Has a lot of dynamics. Feels like something people can actually dance to.
that's a nice change. It's funny, like I because we hadn't. It's a song I sort of we played it in the set, and then we had a big break from like rehearsing the set, and then we played it again like right before tour. I was like, oh, it's not like whenever you hear it with fresh ears. It's that thing where I'm like, every song is just your own guitar part plus three others. But it felt like really nice and cohesive. And you're like, this is a really fun song to play. Shit, it all started from a jam as well. We're just jamming on that riff, and it kind of built just over months and months of doing it and just like establishing it a bit more.
Jamie is track number 5. I think you guys mentioned this song earlier. Who is the Jamie that this is named after? Is it anyone in particular?
This is Jamie from the band Low Island. Whenever we were at South by Southwest, we played a show with them on the Sunday night that we got there. Um, and Stevie left a hoodie behind at the venue. And just like the way things are, it's like being at a
That was
festival. You
actually
just
the second of three shows we played with them. Was the second one that we left.
It wasn't the first one.
No,
Okay, so he come up after the first night and we got chatting and he was just like such a nice dude. And then the second time we played with him, Stevie left his hoodie behind. And by then we ended up playing the last night, so it would have been like the following Sunday, so like a week after. And like in South by Southwest years, that feels like you've lived a couple of lifetimes. And by he came up, he was like, "Here's your hoodie, man. I've got it for you. I remembered it and all." And he was just like a ray of light. It felt like he was also wearing like all white, so he kind of felt like a guardian angel in some ways. Low Island just have a new album out. They're Oxford based.
yeah, Oxford
That
based.
was
Yeah,
Stevie. And we're going to meet up. They're playing Left of the Dial, so we're going to meet up with them there. I don't know if he knows that this song is named after him yet, but we will tell him at Left of the Dial. If not,
if he's not listening to this, and if he is, thanks, Jamie. You're great. We love you.
um, but it was just a real a real symbol of the time and like something special.
He was like our Navi from Zelda. Like he was just that little wee twinkle.
Where Goes the Time kind of stands out mainly for the very good Neil Young impression that I think that you're throwing on the lyrics. Was that intentional or is it just.
No, definitely not. I was just singing an octave up. I do love Neil Young, so it's not an insult or anything. I absolutely love Neil Young, but yeah, definitely wasn't trying to do that. I we wrote that song in the living room around lockdown time as well on the Omnichord. Just yeah, it's just a nice wee toned down one. It's probably about like a lot of different things. Like most of my songs, it's kind of about the autistic experience, and trying to challenge yourself while also taking stock in on how happy you are and how comfortable you are with everything. Like I feel completely myself, but also even in that there can be so many problems. So yeah, it's about a lot of different things within that. But it's a fun song I'm really happy with how that came out.
And the final song is Ghosts of Leisure, the longest song on the album as well. And I think that this is the one that really gives the big Birds and Grateful Dead vibes that we mentioned earlier from that press release.
That makes sense that you said the Grateful Dead because this is the only one, the only thing we've ever recorded that was fully improvised. It kind of came from we had the first half. The song's kind of divided into two parts, and we had the first half, and we had been trying to find a really good way to finish it and blend a second part in. We had an amazing jam one time. We tried all these ideas. We were gonna like fade it out and fade another piece of the song in over each other. We tried a million different things, and then we got a couple of good takes. I think it was the very, very last thing we recorded live after we tracked everything else because we weren't sure if we were going to feature it on the album. And I think I or someone just told Coney to keep playing at the end, and so Coney kept playing the bass, and that last like 3-4 minutes is just the sort of result of what we were all feeling at the end of the whole thing. I'm really glad it sort of ended up taking this weird verse chorus verse structure, but I can still like very mentally looking at Rory and looking at Jake's hands, just make sure our hands were kind of coming down at the same time on chords and things. But it just like, it was a really nice sort of, you know, when the energy's in the room and you've been doing something for a few days and the flow happens, it's really nice to be able to capture that and throw it in on the album and it be and there not be any mistakes. Yeah, that's probably my favorite thing on the album, just because of what it means and how it felt in the room at that time.
And so looking at the album as a whole, I mean, 10 years of Junk Drawer, I'm guessing that you feel like a better band than you ever have before. How do you feel about the album as a whole looking at it? What's like, proud, happy, content with what you've managed to create?
I yeah, so content. I don't think there's any duds, and there are very few things that I would change now looking back. Really, really happy with it all. Love the artwork, done by Paul Henderson, a Canadian artist. Produced so well. Chris Ryan did an amazing job. We're so thankful to Pizza Pizza for putting it out. Um, I think great songwriting by all of us. Great collaborations. Yeah,
Yeah,
super happy.
for me it just sounds like yeah, it finally sounds like us. I think everything else before is maybe you're emulating someone to some degree, and there's always going to be a bit of that wherever you're making. But yeah, it just reminds me. It just every time I think of it, think it's like this nice thing that me and four of my mates did, like my four best mates did, and it's like yeah, rock and roll doesn't have to all be attitude. It can actually be kind of nice and wholesome from time to time.
On that note, listen, Stevie and Jake, thanks a lot for the chat this morning. Congrats on the album. Congrats on the tour as well. Maybe you're still in recovery post-tour, but hopefully you get back to normal soon. But thanks for doing this. Nice one.
Cheers,
Yeah,
man.
thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Cool.